interest. It's one that we're dedicated to solving.
It's very important that we make sure that we always protect and preserve both our people and our lands and our waters. And this will help the channels so our fish still flow.
The goods that are being sent in and distributed are representing also billions of dollars as well. So the economic impact is huge. We have to be forward-thinking. We have to plan for the future, and we also have to position ourselves so that we have the ability to create more jobs. Doing nothing is not an option.
It's important that we work together. This isn't just the Puyallup tribe's problem or anybody else's problem. We've all been put here by the Creator, and the Creator pick and choose who gets to take care of these problems. We all need to work together to do it.
This could be the single largest restoration project in Pierce County, so we're very excited about it.
Together, we can protect Puget Sound and keep pollutants out of our storm drains and waterways with a few small changes to how we care for our cars, like making sure our tires are inflated, which leads to less tire breakdown, regular car checkups to prevent leaks, and washing your car at commercial car washes, which capture and clean dirty wash water. These small, easy actions add up to a big difference, and they start with you. Puget Sound starts here, and here is where we live, work, and play.
Good afternoon. I'm going to call to order the Pierce County Council meeting for February 11th, 2025. The time is 3 o'clock. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Councilmember Yonde. Here. Councilmember Krueger. Here. Councilmember Denson. Here. Councilmember Herrera.
Here.
Councilmember Morrell.
Here.
Councilmember Ayala. Here. Councilmember Hitchin.
Here.
You have 7 members present.
With 7 members present, we do have a quorum. Next on our agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, followed by a moment of silence dedicated to our men and women serving overseas in our military, and then the land acknowledgement. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Coast Salish tribes. Coast Salish people have lived on and stewarded these lands since time immemorial and will continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is just one small step towards true allyship, and we commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and history of the Indigenous people of this land. We are now at section 4 of our agenda. Are there any objections to our agenda as presented this afternoon? Hearing none, we will consider the agenda approved. On today's council agenda, there will be multiple opportunities for public comment. On the consent agenda, you may provide public comment for anything up for final action. This does not include items that are on the consent agenda for scheduling. On today's consent agenda, there is 1 set of minutes for approval and 1 grant authorization. During sections 8 and 9 of the agenda, we will take public comment on each ordinance and resolution individually. And finally, under community forum, there will be an opportunity to address the council on any topic that's not up for final action on today's agenda. For information on the rules for public participation, please review the bottom of page 1 of today's agenda. We are now at section 5, which is our consent agenda. Does any member have a wish to pull an item off our consent agenda? Seeing none, I will look to our vice chair for a motion.
Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as printed and presented.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. We do want to open this up for public comment. Again, comments are on the grant approval and the minutes. So if you find a mistake in the minutes, I guess let us know. They looked great to me. So thank you to our staff that do a wonderful job. So I'm going to open this up to public comment. Is there anyone in chambers that would like to provide public comment on our 2 items? No one is rushing the podium, so we will go online.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to make comment on any final action items, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. And there are no hands this time, Madam Chair.
With no hands raised, we will close public comment on the consent agenda, and we will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Morrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson. Aye. Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala. Aye. Councilmember Yonde.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
The results of the roll call vote is 7 ayes and 0 nays.
With 7 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries and the consent agenda is adopted. That brings us to section 6, which is messages from the executive and other county elected officials. We do have 1 item from the executive transmitting ordinance O-2024-5592S2 on February 5th, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council amending Title 19A of the Pierce County Code, Pierce County Comprehensive Plan, incorporating Pierce County's 2024 Comprehensive Plan, periodic updates as required by law. do I need to read the whole thing? Okay. So it was the comp plan, and it was a very thick piece of legislation.
2,700 pages.
So appreciate all the work on that. That brings us to section 7, which is proclamations, recognitions, awards, and presentations. There are none this afternoon. So that brings us to section 8, which is resolutions. We have proposal number R 2024-253 before us. Clerk, if you could please read.
Proposal number R 2024-253, a resolution of the Pierce County Council accepting the 2024 Affordable Rental Housing Notice of Funds Availability, funding recommendations, and approving certain expenditures of funds.
And we're going to look to, I did that slightly out of order. I went with the committee method, but during the council, we look for a motion first. So I will go to Councilmember Denson for a motion on R 2024-253.
Thank you, Chair. I move proposal number R 2024-253 for approval by council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We're working on audio. I think we're good.
No, it won't sing.
It's been, are we good? Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve R 2024-253. We're going to, we did read it into the record already, so we're going to go to Ms. Waterland to brief us on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. For the record, Carrie Waterland, staff for the council. Excuse me, starting on page 12 of your packet, what you have before you, and as the title suggests, you are looking at accepting the 2024 Affordable Rental Housing Notice of Funding Availability, funding recommendations, and approving certain expenditures of this fund. Excuse me. This resolution can also be found on page 18 of your packet. Goodness. And funding recommendations can be found starting in page 21 of your packet. Goodness. I sincerely apologize. By way of background, a little bit of background for folks. Pierce County Council adopted resolution. Thank you so much. I'm just causing a lot of attention to be shown toward me. No, really. Hi, thank you very much, everyone, for your patience. Okay, Pierce County Council adopted resolution 2003-96, which created an interlocal agreement between the county and its municipalities and established the document recording fee fund. It also established a steering committee that is the approval body for eligible funds under this fund. The reason I'm going into this background is that the NOFA that is before you for approval today is made up of 3 different funds, so I will be going into the background as to how it is that those 3 funds were created. The second fund, Pierce County Council passed ordinance number 2019-57S, which allowed a portion of sales tax revenue to be retained by the county and established the Affordable Sales Tax Fund. Pierce County Council then passed ordinance 2022-81S, which is the Housing and Related Services Fund, also known as the Maureen Howard Affordable Sales Tax Fund. This authorized the collections of 0.1% sales and use tax for housing and related services. 1 second. In April of 2024, this council passed ordinance O 2024-516, which directed that the Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA process, be used for the Maureen Howard Affordable Housing Sales Tax Fund. This follows Chapter 2.111 of the Pierce County Code. In April of 2024, Pierce County Human Services then released a Notice of Funding Availability, which totaled $15.8 million, or a little bit more, for affordable rental housing development and preservation. The county combined these 3 funds that I just talked about into one overarching NOFA. My goodness. By way of summary, the Pierce County Human Services, as I said, combined all three of these funds to create one NOFA, totaling a little bit more than $15.8 million. The funds that were available in this NOFA consisted of those three funds that I just talked about, but the Affordable Housing Sales Tax Fund, the Housing and Related Services Sales Tax Fund, and the Document Recording Fee funds for capital projects and for operating and maintenance projects. We're going to get through this. The NOFA was open for 60 days, and the Pierce County Human Services Department received 22 eligible applications in response to this NOFA. They received 19 applications for capital projects and 3 applications for operations and maintenance projects. After the Pierce County Human Services reviewed the applications, they were forwarded to an application advisory or application evaluation committee. Per Pierce County Human Services, the Application Evaluation Committee met on July 24th of last year and on August 1st of last year to make their 2024 affordable housing funding recommendations. In July 24th of 2024, at that meeting, the AEC discussed the merits of the projects, which projects were eligible for which funding sources, the pipeline of the 4% and 9% low-income housing tax credit projects in the county. Members of the EEC then individually submitted their scores, and the Pierce County Human Services staff compiled and averaged those scores. On August 1st of 2024, the AEC met to finalize their recommendations. All requests totaled over $53 million. Yet Pierce County Human Services had a total of $15.8, a little bit over $1 million of funding that was available. The AEC recommended funding 7 of the 22 applications. Excuse me. Specifically 5 capital projects and 2 operations and maintenance projects. The Pierce County CDC Board approved the recommendations. The Document Recording Filing Steering Committee approved the projects recommended for that fund. And 6 proposals were recommended for full eligible amounts of the funds requested, meaning that 1 did not receive the full amount that they requested. This is coming to you in 2 ways, recommended for approval by the executive and the Pierce County Human Services Department, as well as receiving a due pass recommendation from the Health and Human Services Committee on February 4th. There is a de minimis fiscal impact. If you want that fiscal note, that can be found on page 35 of your packet. And there is an equity note available on page 14. Brian Schmidt is here to answer any questions, and I know that he does have a full voice. So without any further ado, Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, and I'm glad that you did make it through the presentation. I'm going to look to my colleagues to see if we have specific questions for Ms. Waterland or a desire to bring up, and I do want to invite Mr. Schmidt to come to the podium because I'm going to assume somebody will have a question that might come your way. So we'll start with Councilmember Krueger. Councilmember Krueger, whose light's on? I'm going to make that cheat sheet, everybody. Okay. Councilmember Krueger.
I didn't push that.
There we go. That's the confusion. Councilmember Morrell.
I would have used that one.
We got it now.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay. Welcome, Brian. How you doing?
Good.
Good. You're looking good.
Thank you.
Okay. I got some questions. And some of them, thank you for your responses on some of these. My concern is, as one of the authors of the 1509 funds, I'm always curious when I look at the scoring and the lists that keeps coming forward. In the top 5 for capital, you have Mercy Housing, you got the Pierce County Housing Authority, you got the Urban Black Community Development, you got Bridge Meadows, and then you got Beacon Development Group. How many of those are in the city of Tacoma?
4.
4. So the only one that is not is Hidden Firs.
Right.
Okay. How many of them are shovel ready to go?
There's 2 projects that I would call shovel ready and immediately ready to move into contract should the resolution be passed. That is the Pierce County Housing Authority Hidden Firs project. We're ready to move forward into contracting, presuming we have approval of the resolution. The other one is Urban Black Community Development, is also ready to move immediately into contracting. The other 3 projects we're projecting to close on financing in 2025. The Beacon project, it's my understanding that they have submitted permits to the city of Tacoma. We're projecting a close financing day sometime in July or August. Mercy Housing and the Bridge Meadows project are in a similar time frame, probably more October, November on close of financing. There's a few things that need to fall into place on those projects, but that is the current plan. So if you're asking me if those projects are shovel ready, not quite, but we're on a track to get those closed in 2025 on the financing.
Okay. When you get the response back from the NOFA, is being shovel ready, quote unquote, permit ready, or in the process, is that a priority in scoring?
It is. Readiness is a priority, and timeliness of delivering the housing is a priority. We do have competing priorities in the scoring, and we're working through some of that for 2025 and how we weight being shovel ready versus the leveraging versus the AMI levels that are being served versus geographic priority and other things that we're looking at. We're looking at that scoring, and we're kind of doing a debrief on what happened last year, looking at the scoring this year, working with the executive's office and our developer partners on taking another look at that, because we hear that we need more projects outside Tacoma, and we hear that. So we're looking at that as far as weighting goes on the priorities for 2025 funding.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would argue the point that affordable housing is needed everywhere, but understand where the 1509 tax comes from is not Tacoma.
Right.
So when 82% of all the projects continue to be in the city of Tacoma, I question that because the only project we have is the Hidden Firs project, which is right behind Sprinkler. So, which, sounds like a great project. So I'm all in favor of that. And then, continuing on that scoring question is, you talked about the leverage, unit production, project readiness, financial feasibility is always critical. How long can this money be allocated, and then how do they have to use it within a certain amount of time, or can this go on for years?
We have built parameters around timeliness to enter into contract and then to expend the funds. Those are baked into the NOFA. Off the top of my head, we have different levels. So if it's an acquisition, new construction project, that has a different timeline than, say, a Hidden Firs, which is an acquisition, or just a rehab project. So each level of capital project has a different timeline baked into it. So the answer to the question is no, we don't hold the funds indefinitely. There is some timeliness. When the award letter goes out, there's deliverables that have to be met in order for us to progress to getting to a contract. They're not,
That's good, that it's not just, you just keep kicking the can down the road and tying up that valuable resource and money. The other curiosity that I had In reading your scoring criteria that the ACE or ACE committee uses, you use racial equity. What can you explain that?
That when we look at racial equity, we look at things like affirmative marketing plans, outreach to underserved communities, how the developer plans to approach contracting, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and do they have a plan baked into their contracting? That's really what we're looking at when we look at racial equity. We also look at placement of the housing. There's an equity index in the county. High areas of opportunity versus lower areas of opportunity. That's also part of that calculation and scoring.
Okay, then getting back to the minority-owned business enterprise, is that the organization that runs the housing project, or is that the one that builds the housing project?
It's how does the developer plan to approach contracting, and how do they want to do it in a manner that there's outreach to women and minority-owned businesses, and do they have goals around that? That's what that's looking at.
Okay, and they have to include that in the NOFA if they want?
In the application,
In the application.
A plan, yeah.
Okay, and then obviously you have geographic equity.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we were talking about, is trying to stay away from Tacoma, Ruston, and the big town of Orting.
Yes.
So, because they have their own affordable housing tax. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I will support this moving forward, but I am really concerned about the scoring that happens, and also some of the projects that were left on the editing floor. Now, from my understanding, you still have monies available. What is your plan, granted if this council agrees to this resolution, what's your plan moving forward?
We are going to be releasing our 2025 NOFA soon. We're in the process of developing that, reviewing it, and we're relooking at our scoring. We have a process we go through for review. One of those is to notify the council and get a copy of the NOFA to council before it goes out. So there's a chance to weigh in on the scoring criteria or anything else in the NOFA. That's part of the ordinance and the code that we're required to do. But we will be putting out another rental housing NOFA here very, very shortly.
Okay.
For $2025.
What is the normal time that those NOFAs have to be responded to?
So last year we did 60 days in line with the ordinance and the code that said to the extent feasible have it out for at least 60 days. We're looking at that and maybe reducing that. I think we had a lot of lessons learned from last year. 60 days, maybe that's a little long. 30 days, given the complicated nature of the application, kind of feels too short. So we're looking at maybe something between that, between 30 and 60 days for a timeline for folks to apply. I think we had the report on the NOFA process and procurement. I think it was yesterday, actually. And so we're looking at how to kind of compress our timeline down on the NOFAs, understanding that there's various levels of approval processes that we have to get in place. Our hope is a more expedited timeline for 2025 that gets these recommendations to council quicker.
Okay. And there again, I think there again, an expedited process in the NOFA is in order. And I would like it limited to, unit production and unincorporated, but also more of a targeted process, mainly so we pick up one of the projects on here. I know when we put the Maureen Howard affordability, we pulled out one or two projects and said, you will fund these too.
Right.
And one of these that I have, I think is your number 7 or 8 on the list, which has 276 units, which is almost the same as your whole other list.
Right.
And those are 2, 3, 4 bedroom units that are needed, especially in workforce housing. So as long as you can guarantee me that you're going to expedite this and get it out so that organization doesn't lose their tax credits, then, I will support this. But I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge the fact that you're learning and the scoring process needs to be adjusted. So with that, I think I've run the gamut. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for those questions. And Councilmember Gruber.
Now,
Really, Councilmember Gruber this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It seems that no matter what we do, we're not going to make everybody happy, whatever decisions that we make. And the scoring rubric is very complicated, and like I said, not everybody can be happy on it. And maybe I'm asking too late, or just for informational purposes, on the affirmative marketing plan. So that is a requirement, or it's a scoring point where the more outreach you do, the higher you're going to score, whether or not so you're doing an exercise that might be a futile exercise and takes up a lot of time and labor, when in reality it's not going to come to fruition on the work, perhaps.
Perhaps. I mean, yes. Really what we're looking for is a plan for outreach to those that are least likely to apply, to get as a broad of outreach to the community as we can get.
So they have the opportunity to apply, but not necessarily mandated to do that, and they're not mandated to pick them as the hired. Okay, I understand that, and I guess part of in the scoring, are there any considerations for the capacity of the schools? Because in the rural area, they're pretty packed out now, and I don't know if it seems to me some ways people are moving out of the city, and there might be more room in the schools. And while I understand the dollars looking to expand them outside of the Tacoma area, it just seems there's more services, more opportunities there. And so I understand locations in the Tacoma area.
Right. In the scoring rubric for how we go through and rate these projects, I would say that that's not something that is looked at, but I would say that any time that a project goes for permitting, the SEPA or any type of environmental permitting, that is something I believe they have to address, is impact on traffic, on schools, those types of things.
I'm mostly interested in the schools, and then I just recall the former superintendent who was very vocal and very involved, and he had no idea all these apartments going in with the children, and I see the school bus I have to stop behind. And that just kind of brought forth an impact that is, I think, greater in that as soon as schools are open, they're already beyond capacity, and if there's more capacity closer to town versus out of town, I would think that might be a higher score if the schools can take on more children.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the questions and comments. Are there any other questions from my colleagues? Well, I'm not seeing any, so appreciate you being here. I know that I echo Councilmember Morell's comments, and we talked about this during Health and Human Services, that really looking at the next round, the focus really is outside of Tacoma, and leaving at the other concerns that have been raised, but I just really think that's important. We know we're new at doing affordable housing outside of Tacoma, so part of this is finding new community members and new businesses that are willing to do that. But I think it's important, especially in the urban core areas that is unincorporated Pierce County, but wherever outside of Pierce, out of Tacoma, that's the goal. That's what I'm hearing. So appreciate that and look forward to seeing that NOFA, and we'll move through our process as quickly as possible. Ms. Waterland will make sure that we're not the holdup. Okay. So
sounds good.
Thank you. Any further questions before we open up for public hearing? Seeing none, I am going to open this up for a public hearing on O 2025-5. Nope. O 2024-25, Resolution 2024-253. I was getting ahead of myself, everybody. Is there anyone in chambers that would like to address the council? I'm thinking no. Okay, so we'll go online.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment on proposal number R 2024-253, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad. And at this time, Madam Chair, it looks like we have one hand at this time. Excuse me. Riley, please state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Riley Guerrero. I'm with Pierce County Housing Authority, and we have on this item the Hidden Firs project outside of the city limits of Tacoma. We just wanted to thank the council for consideration on this matter. This is an acquisition project of 56 units. It's already built. It has no major renovation needs. It's almost fully leased up with residents in place, and we're going to be subsidizing those residents and continuing this affordable housing project for decades to come. We're really excited about this project. We're really excited for the opportunity to be considered with the county's support for it. And of course, we're really excited to be able to apply for grants that are outside the city limits of Tacoma, or focused on outside of the city limits of Tacoma, as that's where we do a lot of our work. And so we look forward to the council's decision on this, as well as hopefully when we take ownership, being able to invite you folks down to see what great work the money from this grant is going to be providing. Thank you.
And at this time, Madam Chair, there are no other hands.
Seeing no other hands raised, we will close public comment. Thank you, Riley, for your comments. I will bring it back to my colleagues to see if there was any further comments. Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to thank staff for their work on this. I know, we're learning as we go, and as Chair Hitchens said, we're new at this. And though I know that, Tacoma has a lot of projects that have been waiting in the wings for a while, I know recent conversations with the mayor, she said she loves the fact that we're doing affordable housing in Tacoma, but she would prefer to be done elsewhere. And I agree with that it doesn't be known, Tacoma doesn't need to be known as the affordable housing capital of the area. So with that, I think there's a general understanding that especially the 1590 funds get used in a proper manner. These projects get scored fairly, and those that can build the most units in the quickest time, I think should rise to the top of the list. So I appreciate Riley calling in. I know in conversations it's great that you have a seller that's willing to sell you a property nowadays without inflated prices that apartment complexes are going for. So it's great that you have that opportunity to acquire that property, and especially since it's in unincorporated and you have no real deferred maintenance issues that you have to do on this project. So with that, as long as the exec and the human services team can get a NOFA out in a relatively quick time, that we can pick up some of these other projects, I will depend on you, Mr. Schmidt, to carry that message and to do that. And in the meantime, I will support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to reiterate, too, what Councilmember Morell was saying. It is important. Well, the projects that we have, I'm really very pleased with. It's been a long process and difficult to evaluate on it. And so what we have here, I can support, and to reiterate, as well as doing the most for the most with what we have, and having projects that have things already figured out that can accommodate so many more families is on my priority list as well. So I appreciate all your time and work on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for those comments. I too want to extend my thanks to the Human Services team that developed this, worked this, shepherded the process, and then the volunteers that helped with the scoring. I don't know if any of them took time to listen into the meeting for the culmination, but if they did, please extend my thanks on behalf of the council, because it's not easy, especially when you don't have enough money. So somebody has to make the decision, and they signed up to be that volunteer crew. So, because there are many projects on here that are worth our time and energy, but we did have a finite amount of money. And I look forward to seeing the next round go through the process. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on our 2020, did I turn the page? Our 2022-253.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Yambe.
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala. Aye. Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
Councilmember Morell.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 7 ayes and 0 nays.
With 7 ayes and 0 nays, the motion is adopted. Thank you to everybody for your work. That brings us to Section 9, which is ordinances. Before us, we have O 2025-502. I have cough drops in my desk if you need them. And I'm going to look to our clerk to please read.
Do you want to do the motion
No,
first?
I'm going to do the motion this time. Vice Chair Herrera for a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I move proposal number 2025-502 for approval.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve O 2025-502. Can the clerk now please read?
Proposal number O 2025-502, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council canceling certain uncollectible personal property taxes.
Thank you. And this afternoon we have Mr. Boki to brief, and we also have Katie Veteransoff to support if we need some support from finance. Mr. Boki.
Thank you, Chair Hitch and Paul Boki, Council staff. This ordinance will cancel $57,973 of personal property taxes levied by Pierce County between the years 2010 and 2024 that have been deemed uncollectible. The total is made up of business personal property taxes of $34,339 and mobile home taxes of $23,634. In the state of Washington, a personal property tax is assessed against certain business equipment and mobile homes. Due to the movement of equipment, closure of businesses, relocation, or the destruction of mobile homes, taxes are no longer collectible. The Director of Finance has submitted a report to the Council pursuant to RCW 84-56-240, listing certain personal property taxes as uncollectible. This is done annually. The amount of the write-off varies mainly due to business conditions in prior years. The largest write-off was in 2017 when $1.2 million was deemed uncollectible due to the impact of the Great Recession. So the fiscal note on this for the county is the general fund $4,261 and the county road fund $2,557. The remainder is split between the state, cities, schools, fire districts, and other special districts. This was given a due pass recommendation at the February 3rd, 2025 Rules and Operations Committee meeting. And as mentioned earlier, Ms. Katie Bedrozoff, the Treasury Manager in our Finance Department, is on the call to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Boki. Katie, do you have any comments or statements for us before we see if anybody has questions?
I do. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Katie Bedrozoff, Treasury Manager for the Finance Department. For your consideration today is Ordinance O-2025-502, the annual personal property write-off request. Each year we submit a request, and if adopted, allows the county to write off certain uncollectible taxes. These include business assets and mobile homes. As Mr. Boki described, businesses that close, are sold, or file for bankruptcy may at times be unable to pay their taxes. And with mobile homes, they often move, they're destroyed, or they don't sell at auction, leaving no avenue to collect the remaining tax. Treasury staff make all reasonable efforts to collect these taxes based on state law. And I just want to make a quick note that I want to thank my field agents here in Treasury Services. Jason and Jeff do an amazing work, and they provide great customer service to our taxpayers. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We'll go to Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you. And Katie, I just had a question. On mobile homes, do you verify that they've been destroyed or not there? I mean, how do you actually physically go out and at the last known address and say it's not here anymore?
That's a great question. Yes, our field agent go out into the field. They verify, they look around at the property as best of their ability to look to see if that mobile has been destroyed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions from my colleagues? Not seeing any. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We're going to open this up for public comments. So this is a public hearing at this time. If you'd like to invite members of the public to provide public comment on O-2025-502. There are no members of the public in chambers, so we will go to Zoom.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comments on proposal number O-2025-502, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. And at this time, I see no hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We will close public comment and bring this back before the council and start with Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we need to consider a new process here whenever we have the uncollectible personal property taxes come forward. And I think we should obligate the junior member on this council to pay that bill. So I'm just putting it out there because usually, you know, that's what happens. And so Councilmember Yambi, what do you think?
Councilmember Yambi, would you like to respond?
Left my gold mine in the other room.
Well, it was a thought. So thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate you indulging me.
Thank you for the, I'm not sure what to call that comment or question, but thank you for bringing a little levity to a serious thing. Katie, thank you to your team. We know this is important, and sometimes you have to have some really uncomfortable conversations or hard conversations, especially before they get to this point where you're trying to help people navigate ways to actually pay their taxes, save their property, do whatever it needs to happen. So thank you all for that work on behalf of the county and all the junior taxing districts across our county. So seeing no additional hands and no further comments, I'm going to ask that we approve O-2025-502. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ayala. Aye. Councilmember Yambe.
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Morrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
The results of the roll call vote is 7 ayes and 0 nays.
With 7 ayes and 0 nays, the motion is carried. That brings us to Section 10, which is Community Forum. Community Forum is open to members of the public to address the council on any topic of significance to or affecting Pierce County government that did not appear for final action on today's agenda. There is a 3-minute limit. Please state your name if you'd like it on the record and address all comments to the chair. There is no one in chambers, so we'll go directly to Zoom.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. Madam Chair, looks like at this time we have 2 hands. First hand is Dewey. Please state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, I'm here to talk about DIY inspection program in Pierce County. I've been talking to the Washington State Department of Health to find out the video they put out 3 years ago was adequate enough for a person to inspect their septic system and put it in the computer for free. Jeremy Simmons at the water waste manager told me that it was highly adequate for someone to watch a video and go do their own septic inspection. He said he wasn't sure why Pierce County didn't already have a program up and running. I have the same question considering Washington State approved it back in 2000. I just watched a video of the Department of Health Committee where Chantel spoke, and she said there's been a recent code change to allow people to be able to inspect their own septic tanks. I'm not sure what she's talking about considering it's been up and running since 2000, and people have been requesting it since 2021, and they've been working on it since, I guess, 2023 and maybe longer, and now they say it's only potential in 2026. And not to mention the other counties that have been doing it by just watching the video for 15 years now. We have a meeting here in Key Center to talk about DIY inspections, and I think everyone in Pierce County should have a meeting in their district to let people know this is an option, and if they want it, to say something. I asked Robin Denson if she could email people to let them know, because not everyone's on Facebook, and she told me she would not do that at all. Now, I don't know why she wouldn't, because all it's doing is helping people know that there is available if they want it to be and want to speak up about it. I'm not even sure what exactly she's been doing in the last 2 years. She's been working with the health department to get this done. She told me that there was never, ever, no talk about not even having a DIY program. Chantel told me that she was told in March 2024 they were not going to do it at all. I called today to see if Robin talked to the Department of Health Committee about this and see where they were at with it, and Nicole informed me that she was not sure if she even talked to anybody on the committee about it. Now I feel like this is the people she should be talking to about this, considering they're part of the decision of whether we have it or not. I watched a video that the Washington State Department of Health put out, and it seems pretty easy to me. I asked Robin to watch it and tell me if it was hard to do or not, and she refused. I think everyone on the county council should watch it, and the Department of Health Committee explain to people if this is something that's hard for people to do or not. Jeremy Simmons told me it's not hard, and other counties have been using the video to have people inspect their systems. So once again, not sure if this helps people struggling, like senior citizens, veterans, retirees on supplemental income, people with disabilities, and all the low income. Why not have it? Why not us? But really, I think it should be for anyone that wants to be able to do it, because it's not hard, and there's no way it should be taking this long to get it up and running. And Janie and Robin said this is a priority subject, so I'm not sure why it's not done yet. And I just wish there was a little more push to get this done so it's not lingering forever.
Thank you. Next, Madam Chair, we have, we have phone number ending in 874. Please state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chair Hitchen and the rest of the council. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah, this is Thomas Wick from over here in Gig Harbor. Chair Hitchen, you strike me as somebody that has integrity, and you strike me as somebody that's honest. And I do believe you are a person, if you were informed about issues that were consistent with what I consider theft, fraud, malfeasance, you would take action. So I'm asking you personally here today, and these are matters that affect Pierce County in a broader context. I made a request for public record, which should have produced at the most 12 documents. Pierce County Planning and Public Works produced over 6,000. That's what they billed me for. I lost count of how many were repeated and how many were not even responsive to the request. And they forced me to pay for records that I didn't request, which I consider theft. And I even warned Pierce County, I said, if you send me documents that are not responsive, I would consider it theft. So I was asking if you would give me the contact name and person and email of who I follow up with to address that. Also, I made a request for public record on October 5th, 2022 to acquire police camera body recordings from the attempt on my life that occurred at my residence on October 2nd, 2022. I was told by the Sheriff's Department that those recordings had to be kept for a minimum of 3 years and possibly longer. And then later, I was told that they were auto-deleted, destroyed 1 year after the incident. So I asked, and I need to know the status of those recordings. And Pierce County Sheriff's Department leadership has yet to provide that clarification. So I'd really appreciate your assistance with that. The last thing is I filed a claim for damages, which is confirmed valid based on Pierce County documents that are currently published. That was filed on January 22nd, 2025 with Risk Management. They are required to provide me a claim acknowledgement as well as a claim for damages number. And I have yet to receive one. And I would very much appreciate your assistance with those three matters. Thank you very much, Chair. And again, these issues, if they're happening to me, I think we can, it's fairly certain they're happening to others. So I do believe this is a county-wide concern. So thank you again for allowing me to speak this evening.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council?
And at this time, there are no other hands, Chair, I'm seeing.
Well, thank you all. Seeing no other hands, we'll close community forum, bring it back before the full council for any other business, which is section 11. Is there any announcements or events or comments? We'll go to Councilmember Denson.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make sure for folks listening, just to clarify some things around the self-inspection program or the do-it-yourself DIY inspection program that we heard some comments on before. Just for the listening public, I know you all know this because we've had lots of conversations internally, and some of you sit on the Board of Health, and some of you have rural areas like I do that have a lot of septic systems, so I know you all are aware. But for the public, if they are listening, just so you know, septic systems and the inspections and notifications and the regulation of that is done by our Tacoma Pierce County Health Department, which is not a county department. A lot of counties in Washington do have the health department as part of their county government. Pierce County is unique. We do not. Our Tacoma Pierce County Health Department is a completely separate organization, similar to Pierce Transit, for example. They have their own governing board, the Board of Health, and that is the entity that has to make a decision about new programs, such as a self-inspection program. When I was running for office and over the last couple of years, I have heard from a number of constituents that would like self-inspection programs, and myself, along with some of my colleagues, have advocated for that to the health department. We can't make them do anything. We can't direct them to do anything. We don't have that authority. We can advocate on behalf of constituents, which I have done, and I know some of my colleagues have done as well. The good news is the health department has, taken that seriously. I mean, they've got a lot of things on their plate. They don't just do septic systems. They have communicable diseases and wells and vaccinations and drug treatments. They do a lot. But they are interested in this topic. They are working on this, as the person that spoke said. The director recently did a whole session to the Board of Health. I sat in on it. I'm not on the Board of Health, but I'm an alternate, and I sat in on this one because this is something that I care a lot about. And she did say that they are working on this. They are hoping to have a program in place by 2026, or there's a possibility. I'm not sure exactly how she worded it. You'd have to go back and look. But I believe that she was speaking in good faith. She definitely has heard loud and clear from certain people that this is a high interest area, and it's been something that I've been talking to them about for the last 2 years. So if you are out there and you have a septic system and you are interested in a self-inspection program, you're welcome to reach out to your county council people. We are always happy to hear from you. But it's more effective to talk to the Board of Health, and you can go and just like folks did today, you can present to them in public testimony, you can email them, you can reach out to them and say that that's something that you're interested in. There is a meeting on the Key Peninsula on Thursday at 6:30 at the fire station right there in Key Center. We did announce this in our District 7 newsletter that just went out, I guess a couple weeks ago, our February newsletter. So that was sent to everybody that's on the District 7 email newsletter list. We also put it on Facebook, and I know I've seen it shared a number of other places on Facebook as well. So we've done everything that we feel is appropriate, and we continue to work on behalf of our constituents. But again, this is not something that the County Council can make a decision on or mandate. But it's certainly something that I support and will continue to speak in favor of. So I hope that's helpful. If anybody has any questions of how best to ask about this or advocate for it or advocate against it, feel free. You can let me know, and I can send you the information of the health department. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments and the work you've been doing. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate the comments from Councilmember Denson. It kind of proves the point of regional governance is a problem in that we have agencies that are appointed and not elected, and so they don't answer in the same way that elected officials do. And I know that they are under pressure to get this program going, and I don't particularly understand all of the obstacles and how they come up, aside from there are many things that they are trying to tackle at the health department. But they do answer to us in that we fund a great deal of their budget. And I wouldn't mind having a presentation here at the council for some meeting, study session, or a committee meeting to get a grasp, and maybe there is something more that we can do to help that along. Maybe we can make an appeal to the state to allow for more lenience in doing these inspections. I don't know that it's rocket science on a lot of them. Some of them are very difficult because they are very technical in nature, and some of them are guaranteed to fail in 5 years, which is not a good thing that we do on our constituents. So I appreciate the continued effort on this. It's true, more will get done in appealing to the health department. I guess I would like to learn here more at the council. What are more obstacles? How can we help to get that going? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for those comments. Any other comments by my colleagues? Well, seeing no other business between the council today, we are adjourned. Have a wonderful day, everybody.